Welcome to Truth on Wheels. I am Don Blackwell, and I am the host. I am the Executive Director of the Gospel Broadcasting Network. We are doing a program today that is somewhat different. Sometimes we do doctrinal issues, sometimes we do questions and answers, and we regularly do coping episodes. But today we're going to tackle a cultural issue, and that is what is going on with Cracker Barrel. I've got a guest with me today, Brother David B. Smith. David and I have been friends a long time. David is the preacher at the North Hamilton Church for how long?
Almost 17 years.
Almost 17 years. David is one of my favorite preachers. Of all the people that I listen to, he's one of the best because he has a lot of substance. He's been on Truth on Wheels before. He's been on Gospel Broadcasting Network a lot of times over the years. But let's talk about this debacle that's gone on with Cracker Barrel recently. Now, I want to start and just give you some background to this. I like Cracker Barrel. I love Mama's Pancake Breakfast. I think they've got some of the best pancakes and best syrup. But I guess a couple of weeks ago, this got to be a big issue in the news because their new CEO, Julie Masino, I guess is how you say her name, she announced a major brand overhaul. And they spent $700 million to change their look, change their logo, remodel in an effort to attract younger customers. She wanted to modernize the interior. And of course, things blew up when they got to the point that they were going to switch the logo. And the old man who was on the logo, they called him the old timer. His name was Uncle Herschel. And they said that he was a fictional character. We found out he's not a fictional character.
That's right.
Yeah, there was actually an Uncle Herschel. And then came massive backlash. The company's stock value plunged 15% in one day, I believe. They lost over $100 million in market value.
It was a lot, yeah.
The company co-founder, he's old now, but he criticized the redesign. In his words, bland and pitiful. Steak and Shake had harsh things to say, and there was kind of a number of posts there. Every conservative news commentator came out against it. Even President Trump blasted them and said, go back to your logo.
Right.
The backlash got really bad. They put out a letter addressing it. They thought it was going to calm things, but it just stirred the pot. It made it worse. Finally, they scrapped the new logo. They said, we're going to keep Uncle Herschel. Before we really get to the meat of this, how do you feel about that?
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
Because I've grown up with Cracker Barrel.
Okay.
So I don't like change, typically. Arbitrary change. And I've seen some of the photos of the redesigned interiors. I wasn't a fan. It just, I don't know. I like the country vibe of Cracker Barrel. And I like, even lately their menu has changed. So I like going in and ordering Uncle Herschel's breakfast.
Yeah.
That's off the menu now. You have to do the sort of the build your own thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of the changes simply because I liked the way that the restaurant used to be.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of folks felt that way. It's changing what they had known since childhood.
Right.
And it's tough to take.
And I saw an article that, in fact, I've seen several articles that say the reason that Cracker Barrel has suffered is because of what you just said. It said that we want to go back to the past. There's heritage, there's nostalgia, and people just don't want to change that. They portrayed this as a fight between people who like the old gas station signs hanging on the wall versus the clean white walls that they have in there now. It's a battle between the people who like the fireplace and the antique plows versus the modern styles. And they say this is what this is all about. Right. They genuinely believe that. And maybe for some people it's about that. But what I want to talk about today is not that. Right. I like you. I like the nostalgia. I like the old country feel. I like the biscuits and the crispy bacon and pancakes smothered in butter and maple syrup. And I like Uncle Herschel. But if they changed that and the food was still good, I'd still go to Cracker Barrel. Wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of folks, the objection was based on what you said. You're messing with childhood memories and my fondness for a certain restaurant that I like to go to when I travel. That's what the objection was to. But I'm like you. I think, if a restaurant changes and they do a facelift, there have been a lot of restaurants that I like that have done that, and I think it has kind of ruined the restaurant, especially when they change the menu and it's just staffing issues and such. But I think what we're talking about today is a much deeper problem.
Absolutely.
And sometimes Christians don't quite know how to react to cultural issues and whether they should be objecting to issues like that, and where do you draw the line and where do you not draw the line.
So we want to talk about what are the real issues that ought to matter to a Christian. Now, before we do that, I want to bring up a little piece of history here because Brother Hugh Fulford posted on his Facebook about Cracker Barrel, and I found it was very interesting. He said there really was an Uncle Herschel McCartney, I believe is his name, and his wife, Brother Hugh says, were members of the College Street Church in Lebanon, where Brother Hugh was the minister. He says, in addition to the logo, the Cracker Barrel for many years featured what is called Uncle Herschel's favorite, which is what you mentioned. He said he often ordered it. He says the founder, Dan Evans' wife and children were members and attended the College Street Church where he was, along with other extended family members. Dan himself was a member of the church, but did not attend. He said he'd met him on a few occasions. And Brother Hughes said his wife taught school in Lebanon. She got paid every 2 weeks on Friday. On payday, she and their 2 sons would head to Cracker Barrel, and he said a family of 4 could have a meal there for under $10. So kind of some neat memories, a little bit of history there. They had conservative roots and ties even in the Lord's church. They've come a long way.
Yeah. Really
so when you think about the problem with the logo really isn't the problem to me.
Right.
I like Uncle Herschel, and I like the logo. I even made a funny meme about it.
It was hilarious.
And it got a lot, thousands of views where we took Uncle Herschel and moved him to the GBN logo, saying, if y'all are going to fire him, we'll take him. And then somebody said, we want to see you. And so I threw one of me on there as well. But what happened was it turned a spotlight on Cracker Barrel, and it made people start looking at them. And I started finding out some things that I didn't really know before. Now, one of them I did know, and it was a problem that came to light several years ago, and that relates to alcohol. I was really bothered about this, and this was in 2020, which, let's see, that'd been right in the midst of COVID.
Right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of COVID. The company announced that they were going to they tested it in some markets, but they decided they were going to have a permanent addition of alcohol to the menu. And the justification, the decision, they said, was based on a desire to reduce the, quote, veto vote. That is, some people are saying, well, where can we go eat tonight? Well, how about Cracker Barrel? No, they don't have alcohol.
Right.
So they got ruled out because of that. And so they decided to bring, in fact, this article says it was in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. I had a problem with that.
Sure.
It really bothered me. I almost stopped going out of protest, but I thought, I go to a lot of restaurants that serve alcohol, but from a Christian standpoint, what ought to be our view about drinking?
Yes, it's wrong. And it's wrong across the board. Yeah. And I think that's what shocks us. And you and I were talking just a little before we started recording that there are some restaurants that project values that align with conservatism. Yeah. And you couldn't call them Christian necessarily, but they do project that they are moral. Yeah. And a Chick-fil-A would be that way, and a Cracker Barrel would be that way. And those are the companies that you would say, these are the places that families go to and good, wholesome people go to. Yeah. And so when you add alcohol, it is a statement that they're taking a left turn and moving in the wrong direction. We would be just as shocked if Chick-fil-A started serving bottles of beer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it would hurt us because we love and support a company that portrays values that are Christian in nature.
Yes.
And when Cracker Barrel did that, it stung. I believe the Bible teaches that if you drink one drink of alcohol for recreational or pleasure purposes, it is a sinful thing to do. So I was really bothered by them doing this. But when they started this with the logo, it shined some light on them. Every conservative started discussing it, and it started bringing to our attention some DEI initiatives that they've had going on, some things that relate to homosexuality. And so I started doing some reading and some research on this. I read that in 1991, which doesn't seem that long ago. I got married in 1991, but it's been several years now. But in 1991, Cracker Barrel actually fired multiple LGBTQ employees because they said they did not demonstrate normal heterosexual values.
Right.
And there was a protest with some people who didn't like it, but that's where they were. They fired people for that. Now you fast forward to where we are now, from approximately 35 years, it's a completely different thing, company. Now, when I found out about this, I posted on my Facebook, when they did the reverse on the logo, I posted on my Facebook and said, that's a good first start. I appreciate the values going back to the old time, but they need to fix these other things.
That's right.
And I mentioned the LGBTQ, and somebody genuinely, I think they were sincerely asking the question, why are you opposed to LGBTQ people having jobs? What would you say to that?
This has nothing to do with people working and earning money.
Yeah.
It has to do with the endorsement that a company is providing to something that does not fit within a Bible worldview.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Right.
Same with alcohol. These are issues that violate what the Bible teaches on morality, ethics, and things of that sort, and companies are casting their lot, no doubt as a way of gaining favor, or they think gaining favor, although they're usually separating themselves from the actual customer base that made them the popular restaurant that they are.
That's right.
But it's a statement of like Target and other companies that said we endorse this lifestyle. It's a vocal endorsement of something that is wrong, and that's the problem we have.
And there's a lot of companies that do this. In fact, I looked up a while ago. Almost all the major companies nowadays
almost all of them
give benefits to homosexual partners and things. But when a company comes out front and says, we're going to hold the flag for this, we're going to begin to paint our rocking chairs in rainbow colors, which they did at Cracker Barrel, you can see a change of direction. They're saying we want to lead in this immorality. So it caused me to do some digging, and I found a number of things. Cracker Barrel has funded, quote, all ages pride events, meaning, for kids, everybody. Pride events like Nashville Pride, the Third River City Pride. They have partnered with the Human Rights Campaign to normalize pronoun, I didn't know what to call it, the pronoun movement, which basically says there's all these different genders. I don't know how many there's supposed to be now. 7?
It's endless.
Yeah,
it's endless.
Whatever you come up with, you can say that's a gender. Well, they said we want to normalize that. The Human Rights Campaign did, and Cracker Barrel got on board, and they said we want to support this. They have tried to incorporate all kinds of DEI initiative, and all the logo did was start making us aware of some things that were actually changing.
So, yeah.
Incidentally, somebody says the Human Rights Campaign, what is that? I'm not even familiar with that. So I looked this up. If somebody wants to check it out and do some fact checking to know that what we're saying is accurate, if you go to hrc.org, that's humanrightscampaign.org, they've got plastered on their About Us page, leading the fight for LGBTQ plus rights. That's what they're all about right now, is promoting this, standing behind it. And then it says this, lest anyone think that we're misconstruing this, it says on their page, our goal is to ensure that all LGBTQ plus people, it says, and people of color and HIV positive are treated as full and equal citizens within our movement across the country and around the world. And it also adds trans people. I skipped that. But they said that's what our goal is. We want to promote and push rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus. That's what they are all about. and Cracker Barrel has gotten on board, and they said, we want to support this. We want to tout this. I read that Cracker Barrel sponsored what is called Out and Equal. Now just think about that, out and equal. So they've come out of the closet, you
Right.
know. We're proud now. It used to be we had to hide it, but now the Out and Equal LGBTQ Workplace Advocate Conference. It's a long name. And Cracker Barrel sponsored it and presented a workshop on how Cracker Barrel has made progress supporting the LGBTQ plus causes.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a matter of Cracker Barrel just giving jobs to someone who might be
Right.
homosexual. They are pushing these things.
Right.
They are promoting them. Cracker Barrel was awarded the Out and Equal, again, that long, whatever you call this description, they were awarded the Out and Equal's 2018 Top LGBT Group Award, and they won the Nashville LGBT Chamber of Commerce Corporate Diversity Award. So what they're saying is, we're going to give you an award because you are leading the fight in this. You are one of our champions. Christians have got to have a problem with this.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting always to me how they frame that human rights and equality, as if to say, oh, who could possibly be opposed to those concepts?
Yeah.
And it's never equality.
That's right.
And it's never human rights. It's the suppression of those who have contrary views, who have conservative ideals or Bible ideals.
That's right.
Yeah.
I also read they had coming out day pamphlets that they passed out at their Tennessee headquarters, which I think is in Lebanon. They passed out these pamphlets as well as supporting the LGBTQ youth. So young people that get into these things, they're going to support that. They supported creating what they call, quote, safe zones at work. And so if you say anything that's going to be pro-heterosexual or against that, then you've got to be educated. You've got to be, they're going to sit you down and counsel you on that sort of thing. And Cracker Barrel said, yeah, we support that. We want that to happen. I saw an article also that said, and I'll get off of this, but I want people to understand this is not about the logo.
That's right.
My opposition to Cracker Barrel, I love the old time meals and the atmosphere, but if they changed that and they got rid of these other things and they still had good food at a good value, I'd still go to Cracker Barrel.
Sure.
I saw an article that said that Cracker Barrel has removed its LGBTQ Alliance page. So they reversed the logo issue. And then it said they had a page on the Cracker Barrel website just for the purpose of LGBTQ Alliance. And I've got a screenshot from the page so that we can show it, but it's been removed now. Why is that? They've gotten so much backlash.
I agree.
Now, my question was, did they just remove the page and are they still supporting it?
Right.
I don't know. I would suspect that if they have quit supporting it, they're going to have some major backlash from all these homosexual causes that have given them awards.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something else then. A Christian might think, well, can we go to Cracker Barrel? Is it wrong? Should we boycott Cracker Barrel? You know, we've got a member of our congregation. In fact, here we've got a group that has fellowship meals at Cracker Barrel one day a week. Do they need to stop that? These are real legitimate questions for people to be able to answer. So let's talk about that for a minute. You think a Christian needs to protest Cracker Barrel? Can a Christian go eat at Cracker Barrel?
Well, no, not if it violates their conscience. I do think this falls largely in the category of Romans 14 and some other passages like that, where a person has to discern for themselves in matters of judgment, where they fall on the spectrum. There are some who do object to company policies, but still utilize the service offered by the company. But then there are some who would say, absolutely not. I don't want my dollars going to any part of their agenda.
Yeah.
And I always think of Romans 14, verse 23, where Paul says, if you violate your conscience, if you go against what you, in your heart, deep down inside your mind, have convinced yourself is right and wrong in a matter of judgment, then you condemn yourself by doing that. So you never want to do it. If you felt icky by going to Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Even if the food tasted good, but deep down inside you were like, I do not need to be sitting here, then you don't need to be sitting there.
Yeah. And I think in that same vein, in the context of Romans 14, if you were going to have a fellowship group and you were going to go to Cracker Barrel and one of your members felt
That's
that
right.
way, you ought to go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, don't pressure him into.
That's
I
right.
think that'd be a 1 Corinthians 8 type thing. Don't
Sure.
cause your brother
Yeah.
to stumble in this. So if someone wants to go to Cracker Barrel now, is that a wrong thing to do?
They've got to be convinced that they're able to do that. I don't know that any Christian, well, they couldn't be Christian. They couldn't be a follower of Christ and doing what the Lord said. If they were endorsing alcohol and homosexuality, they would not be doing that. But I don't know that people who go and patron that, no more than going to Walmart or Target, would also be endorsing homosexuality or the sale of alcohol or things of that sort. They're utilizing a service or purchasing a service.
Sure. I put this, like you said, I think of this very much like 1 Corinthians 8, 1 Corinthians 10, Romans 14. I think all are discussing, 1 Corinthians 8 and 10, meat offered to idols. Romans 14 is discussing some of the issues relating to the old law. But in 1 Corinthians 8, the idea is there was meat that was offered to an idol.
Yes.
And then it's passed down and it gets sold in the marketplace, the leftover meat. And so could a Christian come and buy that meat and take it home and eat it? Would he be sinning? And the idea is some people thought, we can't buy that meat. That
Sure.
meat had been offered to an idol.
Right.
And Paul says, we know that an idol is nothing. At this point, you're not supporting the idol. You just got a good deal on some meat.
Right.
But that matter of conscience, some people's, like you said from Romans 14, some people's conscience is going to eat at them and they think, I can't eat that meat. I can't give that money. And they'll grapple with this. And he says, then for you, it is wrong. If somebody else thinks, I don't support the idol, it doesn't look like I'm supporting the idol. It looks like I bought some meat in the marketplace. I in no way endorse that idol. I can buy that meat. He says, that's fine. And obviously I'm simplifying it, but I think the principle, if you move it over. Now, the question might be, then why have we made such a big deal out of Cracker Barrel instead of others? Because, I might go eat at, Longhorns. And Longhorns serves alcohol. Longhorns probably, I haven't looked, they probably have a DEI initiatives. In fact, I would venture to bet they do.
Yep.
But
they actually do.
Do they?
They're part of the Darden Group. I looked up some of those companies, and I quickly, it's easy to find this stuff. Target, Walmart, Food City, Publix, Kroger, Nike, Reebok, Adidas, Cracker Barrel, all the Darden restaurants. Olive Garden, Longhorn, Ruth's Chris, Cheddar's, almost every manufacturer of gasoline, Dollywood, Six Flags, Disney, Universal, all have LGBTQ pro-DEI policies.
Oh no, I can't eat anywhere.
Can't go anywhere or do anything.
Okay, I'm glad you looked that up. But that makes an excellent point. If we said we're going to protest everywhere that serves alcohol, where can you buy gas?
Right.
Where can you buy groceries?
Right.
Where can you shop?
Sure.
You couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
Where could you eat out? So if people would say, why are you having a program where you're discussing Cracker Barrel and you're not discussing Longhorns, which is my favorite to go to?
Yeah.
Why are you not discussing that?
Right.
And what would you say to that?
I wrote down a couple of things when you said, hey, let's do a program about this. I think one thing that's happened in the Cracker Barrel issue is it has exposed our inconsistencies in what we oppose and what we do not oppose. People have a right to be upset that a logo is changing, or they're going to change the paint on the walls inside, or even take down the farming implements, which I like looking at. I don't like the new interior. It's not my jam. I don't like it. I don't like the menu change.
Yeah.
They have every right to make those changes,
Yeah.
right? But being in an uproar about physical changes to a restaurant has illustrated that sometimes we're very upset about the wrong things.
That's right.
And I think that's what the Cracker Barrel issue has shown us, is that they have had long, deep-seated morality and ethical issues like the LGBTQ and the drinking, and that somehow was not an issue. I heard no outrage, even among Christians. Some, when the drinking happened, but they've had LGBTQ policies, and now we're upset that Uncle Herschel's being taken off the sign.
Yeah.
So there's a huge inconsistency that we skip over some things that are much meatier and much more concerning to condemn a logo change. And I always think of, Matthew 23, how the scribes and the Pharisees and hypocrites would strain the gnat to swallow the camel.
Yeah.
So
and ignore the weightier matters.
And ignore the weightier matters, the more important things.
I think about this with regard to Cracker Barrel. I thought, why do I personally feel so much outrage about the Cracker Barrel incident? And it's because you see something that seemed to represent good, strong values going the wrong way, and you want to scream at them to pull them back, to say that is not what we want.
Right.
That is not what's right. 2 or 3 years ago, however long it's been, there was I think it was Bud Light debacle, where they supported LGBT. I don't follow it because I don't drink beer, but I recall it was such a cultural phenomenon that a lot of people quit drinking Bud Light.
Yes.
And I saw a statistic recently that they never have recovered from that. And it related to the fact that they thought we're going to reach out and make a commercial or put it on a can or something, and it devastated that company. I don't recall that I ever said anything about it because I never supported Bud Light in the first place.
To begin with, yeah.
I've said it's an evil company. No one should be involved in Bud Light. Now, what they did, sure, that was wrong. But the outrage that people had, they were outraged over a sinful company. It was already doing something
promoting sinful things.
Doing something different sinful that they didn't like.
Right.
And so I never protested that. I never said, don't drink Bud Light anymore, because I always said, don't drink beer, period. But Cracker Barrel's different. It would be like if Chick-fil-A said, we are going to embrace homosexuality. We're going to have, rainbow cows on our signs now. I would protest that because we want to send the signal no. And so when a Christian or people that profess Christianity say we want to oppose that, we're trying to send a signal.
It is, and we live in an American context, and I think deep down we look at certain companies as a gauge to where American culture is going.
Yeah.
And when we see companies like that who have sort of stood by traditional values change, maybe deep down we feel like we're losing some ground in the fight.
Yeah.
But I hope that when we object to things, it's not because we're politically motivated to do it, but because we have a worldview where God is the center of that, and it affects the way that we see everything, and that we object because this is wrong. It's a violation of God and His character, and that's why we're upset about things.
Yeah. So will you go back to Cracker Barrel?
I didn't like the menu changes before that.
Okay.
And we've had terrible service lately, and when you get hard biscuits and cold gravy, it just makes you not want to go.
Cold gravy.
We actually like other breakfast places better until they make some changes. We probably won't go back, but a lot of it is based on just the menu and some staffing issues. But if I was in the middle of nowhere and the only thing that I had to eat on the way on a long trip was Cracker Barrel, we might pop in. But that doesn't mean I endorse what they're doing. It just means I'm purchasing a service from a company that sometimes does bad things.
I thought about this myself when I go back to Cracker Barrel. If I'm out traveling and some members of the church say, let's go to Cracker Barrel, I would go.
Sure.
If I have a choice, I'm not going to go there.
Right.
As long as they keep going this direction. If they go back and say, signal received, we are done, we removed the LGBT plus off our website because we've stopped supporting that, then I would, I'd go back. I'd feel good. They changed things. They got the signal. Now somebody might say, well, what about the alcohol? In my mind, I would think almost everywhere serves alcohol. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to endorse it. But when I see they're making changes back away from these things, then I could have peace in my heart about the matter.
Yeah. I always think of 1 Corinthians 5 and verses 9 and 10. When Paul essentially says you would have to leave the world.
That's right.
To avoid every contact with the world. There's no way to do it. But then he goes on to say in verse 11 and following, your interaction within the church and what you stand for, that's completely separate, a different issue entirely.
Yeah.
So there's no way you can be completely consistent, because if you go shop at Walmart for groceries, it's the same as going to Target for groceries, or the same as getting gas at Exxon or BP, who all have DEI, LGBTQ policies.
Sure.
You can't get away from it. So you have to find somewhere within your level of conscience where you can shop somewhere, endorse something, and do that and be fine with it. And just because you go somewhere doesn't mean that you're actually saying, I agree with where they're spending the money. It just, I need a service. This is the service I'm purchasing from them.
That's right.
Yeah. It's tough.
It is.
It's a tough issue.
And every Christian's got to think through this.
Yeah.
And judgment comes into play.
Judgment is a huge factor.
Do you think before we started filming, you mentioned there were some other lessons that maybe we could draw from this. Do you have anything else you'd like to bring out about this?
Yeah, I think we have gotten in a habit of virtue signaling, and social media has really prompted this. Virtue signal is when you project something out publicly, externally, and you do it, though deep down inside you don't agree with that or you're not convicted of that, but you do it for the praise of men. And what happens is, on these issues, somebody will object to something, and then everybody gets on Facebook or they post a symbol saying, I'm in harmony or unity with this movement. And deep down, there's no real conviction on what you're saying. That's just a virtue signal. The Pharisees were famous for that, Matthew 6.
Good point.
And we cannot be that.
Yeah.
If you object to something, it should be because you have real spiritual, scriptural reasons for objecting to something.
Right.
And it shouldn't be you're just jumping on a bandwagon so that somebody will pat you on the back and say, man, I'm proud of your faithfulness. When it's not conviction that's causing you to object.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about that, but good point to bring out.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you had on your list?
I put one more, and we talked about it, abide by your conscience, but then I put, try to be consistent, don't be a hypocrite. Don't sit in Starbucks on your computer writing scathing reviews of Cracker Barrel when the company that you're at is also doing much the same thing. Yeah. So we have to be as consistent as we possibly can, and I would say be in the Romans 14 realm, be gracious to people who may not share your level of conviction on that issue.
Sure.
If a brother in Christ goes and shops at Target, you don't go to Target, then leave it at that. We don't need to condemn each other on judgment matters because they may be at a different place in their understanding of what they can be involved in.
I've seen brethren that have gone to Disney World in recent years. And I've seen people that would just rebuke them.
Oh, yes.
And they were relentless. But I've thought they didn't go to Disney World to support homosexuality. They went to Disney World to watch Snow White, not the modern Snow White. But even that's gotten changed. That's part of the DEI culture. But they're looking at old-fashioned Disney and having fun with their kids, and they're not supporting the other. So I thought in my mind, that's okay. They can do that if they want to, and we need to be gracious and understanding with people on things that are matters of conscience.
Yeah, and it's just everywhere. You can go to Dollywood during June, and they've got pride shirts up at Dollywood. It's infected so many companies that it's genuinely tough to be consistent across the board in that. So all we can do is the best that we can do, and make sure that when we object to something, it's because we've studied it. We deeply feel this is the right thing for us to do, and then abide by your conscience in that matter.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, David, thank you for being on the program. Was that everything you had on your list?
That's largely it.
Okay. Well, it's always good to have you. Thanks for making the trip over, and we'll get you back on the program soon.
Are we going to Cracker Barrel after?
Well, I'll think about that. I love to have Mama's pancake breakfast.
Oh, and I loved my Uncle Herschel's, that's for sure.
But that's gone, right?
It's gone off the menu.
All right. Yeah. So, well, thanks again.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Truth on Wheels. Until next time, be faithful.